Yo, so I'm down here at my local field. See the boys there are setting up a track ready to do a bit of racing. But I'm more interested in flying my QAV-S. It's all built up, haven't actually done a hover test. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's going to work just fine. I really like the frame, it's cool. Yeah, haven't flown a proper X-frame since my Aikon V2 about 3 years ago. So quite interested to see how it feels. Yeah, I'm gonna try not to crash it. I'm at least gonna do a couple of packs where I don't crash, so I can get some good black box data. Then I'll send it and see how long it lasts. Okay, let's see how this goes. Laters. Right guys, so I thought I should actually stop the video here for a second. Just wanted to explain what my process is when I build up a new quad. You build it up as cleanly as you possibly can, but especially if it's a new frame, such as if I'm working on a prototype, or in this case it's a frame I haven't used before. I just use default PIDs on one profile, and then I set up a second PID profile where I've guesstimated what I think should make it fly better. So that's increasing the PD gain, the PD balance, and the stick response. Now, I know, like, if you were going out for a tuning session, you'd want to maybe go about this a bit differently, but the quads fly great on default. So I just go out and I make a few, I go out and fly, and I come home and I review the footage, and I usually tweak the settings there, look at a bit of Blackbox, and I just do my tuning over time and then just enjoy flying. You know, I know that I could just go to the field and I'm going out to tune my quad, and sometimes I've done that in the past, but usually I just like to go out, as I say, just go out and fly and tune it over each session. So this being the very first hover and flight, I haven't even hover tested this at this point. I figured I'd just talk through the way I fly my first pack to get good black box data and just to feel the quad out. Let's play this now and I'll talk you through it while it's playing. So I usually just start out by doing laps of the field. I try to keep the throttle in a fixed position, and then I'll increase the throttle by like 10 or 20%, do another pass, and just work my way up the throttle like that. So I've got some black box data of just a set throttle point rather than quickly going up and doing throttle punches. This is actually going to record a larger amount of time at these fixed throttle levels. So now that I've done that, I'm just going to like cruise around, do a few flips and rolls, try to do flips and rolls in both directions, both back flips, front flips, or the other way, left rolls, right rolls. I do a few split S's. I don't go into them too hard, just to minimise the amount of prop wash that is going to come up in the black box data. So I don't fly as hard as I possibly can, and I'm more concentrating on banging the sticks nice and hard so that I can take a look at the stick response and check for overshoot or undershoot, so that I can do a bit of PID tuning later on. It's a little bit useless when this default PIDs, and I know I'm going to put another PID profile on that changes them, but every time I know I want to look at black box, I fly like this basically. See that Betaflight 4.3 is really good on the throbbles, the throttle wobbles. So you do those throttle punches, no other inputs on the stick, and you can see the quad is just not moving at all. Okay, so there you go, quick 2-minute flight. When you fly like me, you're lucky to get 3 minutes of flight time. Usually after 2 minutes my battery starts sagging, so or every time I go out and do a bit of black boxing, I don't want to do any black boxing where it's got battery sag in it. I just fly for 2 minutes, land it, and then finish the pack, so that all my logs are usually just over 2 minutes long. So it's good to compare all the logs the same sort of length and try to do the same sort of flying as you can. And obviously it's even better if it's the same pilot and the same even the same components move. If you're testing frames, it's really good if you move. If I'm testing prototypes, for example, when I get a new one made, I want to move all those parts over to the new one so that I can compare the two black box logs, and it just makes it a bit more precise, a bit more accurate data. So the more accurate the data, the better the results are going to be. Yeah, you said, as I said before I started flying, that I would be doing a few packs with no crashing, and then I'd send it and not really care so much about crashing. So you probably want to see a bit of that. This is with my guesstimated PIDs, so it's just optimal slightly. Put the I'm not even going to bother overlaying them because you don't want to use them. They're not that good, but they did give me slightly better prop wash handling and better stick feel, so it's better than default. But if you want to just use a preset, maybe check out the UAV Tech presets. So yeah, I'll show you. I'm not going to show you loads of sending it because I want to save all the good bits to put an edit together. I'll just show you a bit of it now, and then we'll go back to past me, who's out flying still. That just totally changed my angle there. Other than that, yeah, covered in crap now, but it looks alright. Right, so it's coming to the end of the session now. Well, I've done all my packs, and yeah, I gotta say, pretty impressed with this setup and the frame. Didn't seem to, haven't had any issues that could be related to the frame. Just been flying it all on default filters with RPM filter active, just because I wanted to wait until I'd seen Blackbox before I started tweaking any of the settings. I don't see the point in just immediately ramping all the low pass filters up really high until you've actually checked that your frame hasn't got any mechanical noise or any other sort of noise. Frame resonance, I mean, I don't know what the frame resonance on this is until I flew it, so yeah, kept all the filters default. I'll be able to go home now and check out some Blackbox and see how well it actually did. And yeah, I think the props are very close together and very close to the frame. I'm not used to them being quite that close together. I usually have about a 10mm gap. These look like they got a 5mm gap. Other things, no motor protection. So yeah, you saw I had a pretty heavy hit into the dirt and yeah, scratched the motors up, which is a bit annoying. Camera, not a lot of protection there, but you never get much protection in this box style frame. What else? Yeah, that's about it really. Yeah, overall happy with the frame, and yeah, let's head back to my house now and check out some Blackbox. Right, so I am back out, but I'm already back home in this video, so sorry if it's all a little bit confused with the timeline and stuff. I still haven't really figured out the best way to do that. But yeah, let's take a look at the Blackbox logs. I watched Chris Ross's video on the JB frame, and he was using logs that JB had sent him, which when I saw them I thought, oh, they don't look very good. Yeah, they were 4 minutes long, which I can't really make my batteries last that long, so but I have had logs that are that long, and I've cut them down in half, and yes, it does reduce the noise, it does reduce the amount of noise that you see, but it's not like, it's not loads, it just slightly lowers the peaks as you reduce the amount of data that it's using. But what you see with a 4-minute one isn't that much different to a 2-minute one in my personal experience. 5 years of actually flying quads. I know I don't have a space engineer degree or whatever, but I do have 5 GCSEs. I don't like to brag, but I do have 5 GCSEs. One of them is in science, one of them is in maths, one of them is in design technology. So yeah, obviously not quite as qualified as Chris Rosser, but yeah, what I lack in a degree I kind of make up for in enthusiasm and love for FPV. Right, so we'll take a look at the raw gyro data here, and you can see that it is crazy low. There's barely a little peak at all. Now I put that down to me doing a really clean build and using those super smooth Pacer V2 motors, and of course it being a really good frame. It's very solid frame. I was a little bit worried about the bolts that you use for the stack also being used to kind of help hold the arms in place, but looking at the, you know, Blackbox doesn't lie. This is really clean data. You can see that obviously the filters have no problem squashing that out with, and that's the gyro data after the filters have done their job. The pitch, even less of a peak on that. You can see I flew reasonably aggressively. I mean, I wasn't doing anything too crazy, and it's, yeah, very clean. Obviously that's the same with cleaning up it's all nice and clean after the gyros. That doesn't seem to have a peak at all, maybe a little bit broader, just wide spread noise, but again, the magnitude is so tiny that it really doesn't matter. I can honestly tell you that 5 years ago definitely, but maybe even 3 or 4 years ago, this raw gyro data would have been considered clean after the filters, or at least plenty flyable after the filtering. So you could really push this as long as you kept the build clean and it didn't have any damage, because that's one thing. I mean, it's a brand spanking new build that's never been crashed. The props are perfect. The weather was, it looked dim and miserable, but it wasn't super windy or anything. So obviously, yeah, you expect the logs to be really clean. But one thing that really sets one frame out from another is how well it deals with noise generated by damage. Prop damage, arm damage, motor damage, whatever sort of damage on the frame. Maybe your straps come slightly loose, maybe an antenna's flapping around or whatever. That can all contribute to the noise, and how in the frame can definitely help deal with that damage noise, if you want to call it that. So yeah, one thing I wanted to go back out and get some more, do some more testing without changing any props or anything, and see if I can actually get some of these peaks to show up. And yeah, so let's cut to the next bit of my next day out. The next day was much better, much nicer weather, so me and my mate Jamie went out to a different spot to do a bit of flying. So yeah, let's head over there now. There it is. Hey guys, right, so I'm on my way to a different spot today. The big massive old quarry that I've made a few videos at. Yeah, so really nice day, nice and calm. So I've got three quads on my back, and yeah, I'm heading out with Jamie to go fly. So yeah, let's see how this goes. Must admit, flying JB's frame has made me want to hold off and try some other stuff as well, because it is good. The Blackbox.
Oh right, what's that look like?
So checked out the Blackbox already of the maiden flight yesterday, and I'm not gonna lie man, it's really good. It's really good. Like, it's as good as I've managed to get any of my frames in terms of noise before. Wow. But it's hard to tell because I did the maiden with all default filters on, so it was quite heavily filtered, which does affect the raw gyro noise. So I've swapped the filtering around now, and JB's quad has got the filtering that my main quad had, which is just a gyro low pass 2 at 125. I prefer doing that than turning the sliders all the way up. And if it still flies good, then I'll turn that gyro low pass 2 off as well. Just do one at a time, just to be on the safe side. So yeah, that's what I'm testing today. Let's see how it goes. Laters.
It was at this moment that he knew. He fucked up.
Right, so it was inevitable that I would eventually crash the JB build pretty hard, and yeah, because I always fly in places like this, stone quarries and granite ruins, that I can't help but try to fly through the gaps. It took the hit pretty well. The lack of arm protection was surprisingly hasn't completely destroyed. Let me just show you. So it took the impact right here. You can see the little discoloration, but the motor appears to be fine. And the arm, obviously the arm is not broken. It hasn't dislocated from the frame. But as you can see, this one didn't take the hit, and there's only a tiny bit of movement in it. Like that one, only a tiny bit of movement in it. This one, completely delaminated the arm, which is exactly what I suspected would happen. Yeah, I broke it. Sorry, JB. But I've done what you do to so many of the frames that you do a review on. I've managed to break yours probably within about 8 packs, I guess. I say break, it's actually not as bad as I first thought when I was there. Yes, the arm is delaminated, but the way that the arm is designed, where it's really wide at the base and really thin in the middle and then wide at the motor end, it's actually delaminated. Obviously it's delaminated at the thin bit, so the twist is all happening away from that thick bit that joins the frame, if you get what I mean. So not a lot of the extra vibrations won't really go through to the flight controller that much, but it will cause slightly more vibrations. And obviously every time I hit that arm now, it's going to get worse and worse and worse, and it will eventually, you'll be able to turn it all the way around, or it'll just snap. So hasn't got much life left in it for sure. So I did get hold of Joshua, and I did get hold of Ryan Harrell as well. I mentioned that I'd managed to delaminate an arm quite quickly. Luckily for me, the Johnny FPV version of the QAV-S and the JB version of the QAV-S have the arms can be interchangeable, and there is someone in the UK, Drone is Life, who stock Lumenier frames, who I should be able to get an arm from in the near future and be able to keep using the frame, even though it won't be a matching arm. Flying at that stone quarry, it's very rare that you leave without any damage at all. Sometimes you don't even come back with your quad. Yeah, in that lake down there, there's one of mine, and yeah, from years ago, with a session on it. I'd love to find that one day, but it's gone, I think. So yeah, after it hit, I really thought it would break the arm, and I thought the motor would be done for as well, due to that lack of the motor protection on the arms. And yeah, I mean, it was fine. It actually looked like it was only prop damage, so I put some new props on and figured I'd give it another go, and I just about had enough room on my Blackbox to get some Blackbox data. I'll play a little clip of it flying now, and yeah, you can see that when I let off the throttle, there's definitely a bit more noise getting into the gyro. So yeah, with this less filtering, I think a bit more noise is getting into the gyro there, and you can hear it, but it doesn't sound as clean as it did earlier on when I was doing those throttle checks. Yeah, and you can see on the Blackbox gyro data here that there is a little bit more, the magnitude of noise is a little bit higher than earlier on. Side-by-side comparisons here, so on the left you've got from earlier before the crash, and on the right there you've got after the crash, raw gyro roll, and here you have the raw gyro on pitch, and here you have the raw gyro on yaw. So yeah, slightly higher magnitude, and you can see as well here, like I was saying earlier, I wanted to see if less filtering brought out more noise, and slightly damaged props, but not super damaged. You can see from the footage that it's no stabilization, so you can see there's no shakes and there's no vibrations or anything. So yeah, all that noise is coming from the frame. That's the frame resonating. But again, not very high and very easy to filter. And this lower filtering is still doing more than a good enough job of filtering. So I could turn off that LPF2, or I could just turn off the dynamic notch filter and just use RPM filter. But it comes down to, and this is where it comes down to the filtering and the tuning. Now, you're supposed to get your filters right before you do your PID tuning. So what is the right amount of filtering? Well, the perfect amount of filtering is just enough that no noise is going through into the PID loop and affecting flight performance, and not so much filtering that it's causing a lot of phase delay and causing bad flight performance that way. The default filters don't cause enough phase delay to make the quad feel bad, in my opinion. The quad is plenty responsive, especially, you know, if you're running tracer and you've got a decent setup, decent props. I don't see it. Yes, you turn the filters down and then suddenly it's super reactive to your thumbs. Do you want that? All it does is just pick up every single little mistake you ever make. Sometimes when you push the filtering to the absolute limit, I swear that in the footage I can see my pulse where it's going through my thumbs, and the sticks are picking up my thumbs, and it's reacting so much that my quad, maybe not, but that's kind of where it gets to. And then you're flying and you're like, oh, you've got to be super careful with those sticks. You've got to be really careful and not make any wrong inputs. I don't need that, really. And as soon as you hit something and damage a prop or something, the quad flies like utter crap with low filtering. So you need some sort of safeguard if you're going to be crashing, which everybody does. And I'd rather be able to crash, bend a prop back and fly and still get good footage, rather than having to constantly change my props all the time. So I've got super fresh props on, or having to use stabilization like hyper smooth or real steady because my quad is all wobbly and crap because hasn't got enough filtering to deal with damage, you know. So I'll probably even just leave the filters there. I mean, the quad flies good. I might even put more filtering back on. I mean, who cares, really? I mean, at the end of the day, if it feels good and you're having fun and it's not vibrating all over the place, you're not getting excessive prop wash. I mean, the moves that I do are like the worst possible moves you can do for prop wash. And yeah, you get a little shake. Who gives a shit? Like, I'm not making a Hollywood movie or anything. I'm just having fun flying FPV. So, yeah. But I'll push this a bit further, and yeah, the next video you'll see will be all my best bits. I'll put them together in a bit of an edit, and yeah, maybe I'll do a bit. Maybe I'll do a bit of a tuning video with this, but without damaged arm, I kind of feel like maybe I'll wait until I can get a new arm. Maybe I'll move on and build up an Osiris instead and do a tuning video on that. So we'll see. I hope this has been helpful. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comments below. I'm always happy to help people. So yeah, take care guys. Laters.